Welcome back, students. This is Dr. Mercado speaking. We are continuing covering Chapter 5, which deals with unemployment compensation. Okay, this is Accounting 1329, Payroll and Business Tax Accounting, and we are using the Payroll Accounting 2022 edition. Okay, now in this lecture, I am going to be going over problem 514A. Okay, this is a long problem. It has a lot of information, so it's very important that we read it carefully. I like to read my problems 2 or 3 times before I even begin working on them because I need to clearly understand what is it that they're asking and the information being provided so I can be able to analyze all that and then apply it to my problem. So let's read over problem 514A. Okay, so it says Marlene Grady and Pauline Monroe are partners engaged in operating the G&M doll shop, which has employed the following persons since the beginning of the year. Okay, so we have Hoffman, who's the general office worker, makes $1,700 per month. We have Drugan, a saleswoman, that makes $15,000 per year. We have Beater, who's the stock clerk, that makes $180 per week. We have Egan, a delivery man, that makes $220 per week. And we have Lynn, who does cleaning and maintenance part-time, that makes $160 per week. Okay, Grady and Monroe are each paid a weekly salary allowance of $950. Those are the two partners. So, the doll shop is located in a state that requires unemployment compensation contributions of employers of one or more individuals. The company is subject to state contributions at a rate of 3.1% for wages not in excess of $8,100. What does that mean? Okay, we need to be clear. FUTA, Federal Unemployment Tax. For the FUTA, we are paying on the first $7,000 of earnings. That dollar amount does not change. Okay, it's $7,000 per employee, regardless in the state that they are in. That is just across the board at a national level. $7,000 is what is taxed. The first $7,000 of earnings is taxed for FUTA, for federal income unemployment tax. I'm sorry. Now, for state unemployment tax, it varies by state. Okay, in this particular state, we are going to pay state unemployment tax on the first $8,100 of earnings. Okay, so in this particular problem, FUTA, we're going to pay taxes on the first $7,000. For SUTA, we're going to pay on the first $8,100. Okay, we are being asked to compute each of the following amounts based upon the 41st weekly payroll period for the week ending October the 14th. Okay. Letter A, amount of FICA taxes, both OASDI and HI, to be withheld from the earnings of each person. Okay, and then we are given a list. Okay, we have Grady, Monroe, Hoffman, Drugan, Peter, Egan, Lynn, and then we're going to be getting a total. Okay, so I've copied this over here. Okay, so I've included an extra 2 columns because I want to include my calculations as well as the taxable earnings. And then once I have my taxable earnings calculated, I can easily just multiply by my OASDI rate and my HI rate. Okay, so I've set it up a little bit different than down here just so I can be able to explain it to you. Okay, so the first 2 employees we have are Grady and Monroe. Now, what does it say here? Grady and Monroe are partners. Okay, that is the key word, partners. Okay, if we go back to chapter 2, in chapter 2, it is explained that partners are not taxed under FICA. Okay, so you need to go back to chapter 2 and specifically to section 2.1c of chapter 2, and there it explains that partners are not taxed under FICA. They are not considered employees. These are considered withdrawals from the company, not a payment for actual work performed. Okay, so Grady and Monroe are partners. Okay, they are not subject to any kind of tax for FICA purposes. Okay, so that would be 0 for them. Okay, so once again, if they're a partner, those allowances that they're getting are not considered wages. They're considered business withdrawals. Okay, we need to go back to chapter 2 that explains that partners are not taxed under FICA. Okay, So because Grady and Monroe are partners, those amounts for the OASDI and the HI tax are going to be 0. Now we go to Hoffman. Hoffman gets paid $1,700 per month. Okay. Now these employees, they're asking us to calculate payroll for the week. So yes, they provide us for the monthly information. We need to break that down into a weekly pay. Okay. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to get my 1,700 times 12 months. Okay. And let's see what that gives us. 1,700 times 12 months gives me 20,400. And then I'm going to divide by 52 months in a year. Okay. So 20,400 divided by 52, not months, weeks. Sorry about that. It's weeks. We have 52 weeks in a year. Okay. I was getting ahead of myself here. So we've got 20,400 divided by 52 weeks in a year. That gives me a weekly pay of $392.307. We're going to look at that third digit. That third digit is a 7, so that means I'm going to round up to 31 cents. So then that would be 392.31. Okay, 392.31. That is my taxable earnings for that week for Hoffman. Okay, for for Drugan. The next one is Drugan. Drugan gets paid $15,000 per year. So I'm going to get the $15,000 per year and I'm going to divide by 52 weeks. Okay. So let's get that calculator. It's 15,000 by year. I'm going to divide it by 52 weeks. That's going to be 288.46. Okay. So that's 288.46. Okay. So let's go ahead and put that there. 288.46. Okay. Now, Peter, Egan, and Lynn are already provided in a weekly pay. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that information. Okay. So this is my weekly taxable earnings. This is for the week. Weekly taxable earnings. Okay. And then I'm going to get my total. Okay. So for the week, my employees earned $1,240.77. Remember, Grady and Monroe are not employees. They are partners. That is why they're at 0. Okay. The partners do not pay any of these taxes. That's why they're zeroed out. Now I'm going to start with Hoffman. Okay. So I'm going to do my weekly taxable earnings. And I'm going to do my round function. That way I can round accordingly. It'll be my 392.31 by my rate. Okay. And then I want it rounded to 2 decimal places. Okay. And then I'm going to anchor my my OASDI rate. I anchor by selecting F4. What that basically is going to do is going to freeze my formula. That way these numbers move down, but they are all referring to my 6.2%. So that's the formula that I have. Equals round. I'm telling it that my Q5, okay, which is my weekly taxable earnings, times my R2, and I'm putting a $ before the letter and the number to anchor it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. Okay, that gives me 24.32. Once I have my formula done, I'm just going to go ahead and select it, click this little box on the corner and bring it down. Okay, that will give me 24.32, 17.88, 11.16, 13.64, and 9.92. I'm going to add those and let's see what we get. 76.92. Okay, so what did I do? All I'm doing is putting a formula. If you want to do it manually, then you can just do it manually. 392.31 times 6.2% gives me 24.323. I'm keeping that 2, so it'll be 24.32. Okay, the next one, I'm doing 288.46 times 6.2%. That gives me 17.884. That's less than a 5, so I'm going to keep it at 17.88. Okay, 180 times 6.2%. That gives me 1116. So all you do is multiply your weekly taxable earnings times your OASDI rates, okay? I just like to save time. If I'm using Excel, then I'm using formulas. So once again, I'm going to do equals, round, open parentheses. I'm going to select my weekly taxable earnings. I'm going to multiply by my HI rate. I'm going to do a comma. I want it to round to 2 decimal places. Close parentheses. Then I go back to the cell in red, which is my rate, and I'm going to select F4. That will insert dollar signs in front of my letter and my number. That is anchoring my rate. And then I click enter. And then I go ahead and just click on that cell, and I go ahead and I just get the corner and I bring it down. Okay. And then I get my total. Okay. So now I've got my total weekly taxable earnings. This is how much I paid my employees, my real employees. This is the OASDI tax that's going to be withheld from their paychecks, and the HI tax that's going to be withheld from their paychecks, okay? That is requirement A, okay? Requirement B. What is the amount of the employer's FICA taxes for the weekly payroll, okay? So, for the weekly payroll, the taxes that we're going to have is we're going to get the weekly taxable earnings, which is right here, okay? 1240.77. And I'm going to multiply it by my rate of 6.2%. Okay, and let's see what we get. 1240.77 times 6.2%. That gives me 76.927. So I'm going to round that up to 76.93. Okay. So look at that third digit. It's greater than a 5. So then that means that I'm going to bump that up to a 3. So it'll be 76.93. Okay, now I just want to clarify. I have some students asking me, how come this number and this number do not match? Okay, this is the amount that we calculated being deducted from each individual employee. Okay, and this is the total that is going to be deducted from the employee. On the employer, letter B is asking you for the amount of the employer's FICA taxes. Okay, let me change this to the amount of employers' FICA taxes. Now here we are calculating the FICA taxes for the employer. When we are calculating the employer's portion, we have to do a separate calculation. You're going to get the total taxable earnings and multiply by the respective rates. So you see we have a 1 cent difference here. Okay. 1 cent difference. For HI, once again, I'm going to do 12,477 times 1.45%, and let's see what we get. 1240.77 times 1.45%. That gives me 17.99. In this case, HI for the employee and for the employer is the same, 17.99. Okay, I'm going to insert a cell. So I'm going to do my total FICA taxes. Okay, what did I do? I deleted something or what? I guess I did. Let me enter it again. 1240.77 times 1.45%. And then that gave me 17.99. Very good. Now I'm going to get my total FICA. I'm going to add those two together. And that gives me 94.92. Okay. So that is my total FICA, 94.92. Okay. This is the taxes that the employer has to pay. 76.93 for OASDI, 17.99 for HI. This is the amounts that are going to be withheld from the employee's paychecks. Okay, this is calculated at an individual employee level. Down here, it's calculated based on the total. Okay, so that is requirement B, which was what is the amount of the employer's FICA taxes for the weekly payroll. Okay, now letter C. What is the amount of the state unemployment contributions for the weekly payroll? Now here it gets confusing. Okay, I'm going to insert another column here because I want to know how much this employee has earned year to date. Now, it says here that the company, compute each of the following amounts based upon the 41st weekly payroll. So this payroll that we are in is the 41st payroll. Well, I want to know how much my employees made as of the 40th payroll. So year to date as of the 40th payroll. I want to know how much money these employees made before this paycheck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the weekly taxable earnings and I'm going to multiply it by 40 paychecks. Okay? And let's see what we get. Okay? So this is how much my employees earned. Okay? Now, in this particular problem for letter C, the amount of state unemployment contributions. Okay? Amount of state unemployment contributions, which is your SUTA, for the weekly payroll. Okay? Okay. The problem says here that the company is subject to the state contributions at a rate of, let me read this, of 3.1% for wages not in excess of $8,100. So what does that mean? That means that I'm only going to pay SUTA taxes on the first $8,100 of earnings. If the employee has earned more than $8,100, then we do not have to pay any SUTA taxes. So let's look at Hoffman. Hoffman already made $15,000. That's above the $8,100. We are not going to pay any SUTA for Hoffman. We are not going to pay any SUTA for Drugan. Now let's look at Beater. Beater, as of the last paycheck, earned $7,200. Okay? $7,200 as of last paycheck. This week, Beater is making $180. Okay? Has Beater gone over the $8,100 limit this paycheck? Nope. So that means that for Beater, we are going to still pay SUTA taxes on those $180. So I'm going to put here Beater. Okay? And for Beater, I know that I'm going to have to pay this paycheck $180, taxes on the $180 that was earned. Okay? Let's look at Egan. Egan, as of last paycheck, had earned $8,800. Egan is over the limit of $8,100, so we are not going to pay any SUTA taxes for Egan. Now let's look at Lynn. Lynn has only earned $6,400. Okay? As of last paycheck, Lynn earned $6,400. This paycheck, he earned $160. Okay? That puts Lynn at $6,560. Is that above the $8,100 limit? Nope. So what does that mean? That means that we are still liable to pay taxes for SUTA for Lynn. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put Lynn here. And Lynn earned $160 this week. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my total. Okay? I'm going to get the sum of these two. Okay? Which is $340. Okay? And that is the amount that is taxable for SUTA. Okay? Remember, SUTA in this problem has a cap of $8,100. We only pay taxes for SUTA up to the first $8,100 of earnings. Now that I have that, I'm going to multiply by my rate. The rate provided is 3.1%. Okay. And then I am going to get my actual SUTA tax, which would be your 340 times your 3.10%. That gives me $10.54. Okay. That is the amount of my SUTA tax. Okay. $10.54. So yes, my employees earned $1,240.77. Out of that $1,240.77, I only have to pay SUTA taxes on Beater and on Lynn. These are the two employees that have not reached my cap of $8,100. In this problem, your SUTA max, or the amount that you're going to be subject to pay, is on the first $8,100 of earnings. Once you calculate your taxable amount for SUTA, you multiply by the rate. In this case, the rate provided is 3.10%, and that's going to give me my SUTA tax of $10.54. Okay. Next, for letter D, they're asking us for the amount of the net FUTA tax on the payroll for this week. Remember, FUTA is on the first, FUTA taxes on the first $7,000 of earnings, okay? So we need to look back at our list, at our year to date, and see which employee has not gone over the $7,000 threshold. So Hoffman has. We don't have to pay any FUTA for Hoffman. We don't have to pay any FUTA for Drugan. We don't have to pay any FUTA for Beater. He's above the $7,000 limit. Egan is also over the $7,000. The only one that has not gone over is Lynn. Okay, and even in this paycheck, okay, if we get the $6,400 plus the $160, he still does not go over the $7,000. So what does that mean? That we still have to pay FUTA taxes on Lynn, on the $160 that he worked this week. So I'm going to have Lynn here, and Lynn earned $160 this week, okay? And remember, my rate for my FUTA tax is 0.6%, okay? Okay, I'm going to multiply that, okay? Let me get my calculator, underline here, and then I'm going to do my FUTA tax. Okay, so it will be $160 times my 0.6%. That will give me 96 cents of FUTA tax. Okay, 96 cents of FUTA tax. Okay, so in calculating D, we have to figure out which of my employees has not gone over the $7,000 threshold for FUTA. Okay, if an employee has gone over the $7,000, then we do not have to pay any more FUTA. We only pay FUTA up to $7,000 for each employee. And in this case, the only one that had not gone over that $7,000 is Lynn. Lynn has only earned $6,400. Okay, so that is my FUTA tax. Letter E is the total amount of the employer's payroll taxes for the weekly payroll. Okay, so we're going to get the FICA OASTI, which is $76.93. The FICA HI, which is $17.99, and we're getting this from our calculations up here. Then we're going to get the SUTA amount. The SUTA amount is $10.54. My FUTA amount is 96 cents. It's everything we calculated in letters B, C, and D. And then we can calculate our total payroll taxes. Okay. We're going to add these four numbers up, and that's going to give me $106.42. Okay, that is the total payroll taxes for this paycheck based on this information provided for these specific problems. Okay, or for these employees, I'm sorry. Something to note here is be very careful for the partners. Remember, they are not subject to FICA taxes. Partners are not subject to FICA taxes. Be very careful on your rounding. Okay, that's a common mistake students make. Remember, if that third digit is a 5 or greater, you have to round up by 1. If you're using Excel, make sure that you use the round feature and you round to 2 decimal places. Okay. Remember, for the employer's FICA taxes, that is something that needs to be computed. It's not something that you copy and paste from up here. The employees and the employer's calculations are different. The employees are done on an individual basis. The employers is based on the total earnings. You get the total earnings and you multiply by the rates. Okay. So that is what I have for this problem. Please make sure that you complete your homework assignments by the established due dates. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm available during my scheduled office hours. send me a Blackboard message, an email, whatever works best for you. Just make sure that you include the problem number and what you are attempting to do. Okay, I want to see your work so I can be able to provide guidance. Okay, I'm not just going to give you the answer. I want to be able to identify where you're going wrong so we can realign you and you can fix your issues. Okay, so that is basically it for this presentation. I wish you the best of luck in your homework and your quiz. Stay focused, keep doing such a great job, and until next time, have a wonderful day.